so much, Amber. Welcome to the February 9th, 2023 Connecticut Paid Leave Board of Directors meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. It is 9:02. Amber, would you please take attendance?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. Ava Bermuda Zimmerman.
Present.
Isha Canada. I don't believe Isha has joined us yet. Adrienne Cochran.
Present.
Britt Marie will not be joining us this morning. Andrea Comer.
Present.
Michelle Gilman.
Present.
Sheila Hummel. Sheila, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Present.
Thank you. Sal Luciano.
Here.
Thank you. Ellen McKitterick.
Present.
Thank you. Fran will not be joining us today. John Scott. Has John joined us yet this morning? Not yet. Okay. Mike will not be joining us today. Molly Weston Williamson.
Present.
Good morning, Molly. Holly Williams.
Present.
And Justin will not be joining us today. We do have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amber. I would like to take a moment to welcome Andrea Comer to the board as our new designee for State Treasurer Eric Russell, and to thank Alex Marcelino for his service to the board for the past couple of years. Andrea is the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Treasurer. For those that are not aware that she had moved over to the Treasurer's office. And she's done that after having served as the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Consumer Protection, where she was the chair of the Social Equity Council, among other duties. Prior to that, Andrea was the Chief of External Affairs for the authority, and we're delighted to welcome her back in this role. Thank you so much, Andrea. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone.
And I would like to acknowledge and thank any members of the public who are joining us this morning. We may have some legislative members joining us in and out this morning. Not sure if we have any at this current time, but I'm delighted to welcome them as they join us today. So moving forward, may I have a motion to approve the January 12th, 2023 minutes, which were distributed last week?
Luciano.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions?
Abstention?
And the motion carries. Thank you very much, everybody. Dave, would you please provide the update on the revisions to the finance policies that were posted for public comment?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Back in, I think it was November, we presented to the board updates to our existing finance and accounting policies. Those updates included items like removing detailed procedural and duplicate content in the policies. We clarified budgeting requirements. We clarified reporting requirements. And we updated the document for our virtual working environment. We then posted the comments for public comment. There were no public comments, so nothing to report there. So at this time, we are requesting to vote to adopt the updated finance and accounting policies.
Thank you, Dave. May I have are there any questions on, any questions for Dave?
Sal Luciano, so moved.
Thank you, Sal. May I have a second?
Second. Second. Holly Williams.
All in favor of the motion on the finance policies?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you.
Michael, would you please lead us in the discussion regarding the proposed revisions to the consolidated policies?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen for a moment. Can everyone see a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. So hello, everybody. Good morning. Today we're asking the board to vote to post some revisions to our consolidated policy document to the Connecticut Law Journal for public notice and comment. Hopefully everyone received the document I had sent yesterday with some of the red line changes to the policy document, to the policies. I don't want to steal too much of the board's time today, so a lot of the changes are literally just, capitalizing private plans and things of that nature. So it's, pretty self-explanatory, but I did put together these slides to kind of talk about the changes at a high level. The goal of this effort was really just about cleaning up the policies, about making some revisions here and there, because we wrote the policies back in 2021 before we had sort of launched the benefit portion of the program. So we had some learnings we made over the past 14 months that we want to make sure are addressed in the policies themselves. It's not about creating kind of brand new rules or requirements. Have these changes on the slide. I won't go through each of them. The bold ones are the ones I kind of wanted to make a note for myself to talk about today. I'd be happy to talk about any individual changes we don't go over today, whether in the language or in this document itself, but I don't want to kind of steal all the board's time. First two categories, sort of self-explanatory, I hope, really about corrections, typos, grammar issues, as well as the use of defined terms appropriately. We had underutilized defined terms in some circumstances, and then overutilized them in others. So wanted to make sure that that was consistent throughout. The first kind of detail I wanted to make sure I highlighted was in the clarifications. When it comes to contributions and the valid submission of a contribution by an employer, it's not just sending us the money. We actually have to know the account to apply the money to, the quarter or other period to apply the money to. So making it clear that part of the submission of a contribution is also telling us where those wages are, or where those contributions are supposed to go. So making sure the policy reflected that. Second and third item, this is about employer provided benefits, which may potentially impact a paid leave calculation if it was received during the paid leave period. The statute does say that employer provided benefits can impact the claim. We wanted to have a couple exceptions when it's really not about wage replacement, but could technically be considered employer provided benefit. So one is severance payments. If the severance payment is conditioned upon the employee signing a release of claims, that's a circumstance where we would not consider that wage replacement, because it's really about that release more than the replacing your wages. And similarly, retirement distributions, if it's for an employer that you had 2 years ago and you just happen to be receiving retirement benefits from them, that's also not a wage replacement for the paid leave claim you're currently requesting. So we only consider sort of your current employer or the most recent employer if you've since been unemployed during the claim. And then one last kind of exception is if the retirement distributions are taken as a loan, that would not be considered wage replacement. Next category, claim process corrections. Actually, Sal, I can answer your question now if you want, or I can wait till the end. It's up to you.
The question I had is, you're calling it employer provided benefit.
Mhm.
It is the employee's money though, right?
So the employer provided benefits, that's talking about the other benefits they might receive during the claim, the paid leave claim. Officially, the term is employer provided employment benefits in our statute. So we're really talking about all those, disability payments, sick leave, other things that the statute doesn't allow them to get both benefits if it would cause kind of more than 100% of their wages to be replaced. So there is a circumstance where it impacts it. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. This next category is really, this is where we had the lessons learned over the past, year of paying claims and what sort of revisions we wanted to make to the policy to reflect those lessons. The first one I wanted to highlight is we have a wage verification form now available. Most employees report, their employers report their wages to the Department of Labor for UI purposes, but there are some employers who participate in our program but don't report their wages. So we have this separate form that we use for the employer to complete. Previously, the language just talked about kind of vaguely about other documentation we would accept under those circumstances, but now we have a form to use, so the policy should reflect that. Second item I just wanted to highlight in this category is intermittent leaves. So when there's an approved intermittent leave and the individual's now taking individual, absences during that approval. Previously, we had said they should report those every 2 weeks, and then we would pay after those 2 weeks. But we updated that to say they should report within 2 business days of each leave circumstance. So a little bit change there. This next category is about this sort of a couple of events that can happen during the leave that can change the payment for the benefit. And we wanted to kind of highlight how we calculate that event. The first one is if a claimant were to pass away during an approved leave, or if an individual the claimant is caring for under a caregiver leave were to pass away, that does end the paid leave claim. But what we wanted to avoid happen is where we would say, what was the very minute that the person passes away, and every moment prior to that is paid for and every moment after that is not paid for, and comparing it to what they would have worked in that day. It's a whole lot of work for not a lot of value. So we just sort of made a rule that if the claim is terminated because an individual has passed away, the termination effective date is essentially the first full day that they're no longer alive. That saves us a lot of hassle and avoids a lot of data collection that we don't do today. That doesn't really have any upside to it. The second scenario is sort of the opposite. There are an extra 2 weeks available for pregnancy childbirth claims in our statute and in Connecticut FMLA. Extra 2 weeks for a serious health condition during the pregnancy. So we thought about the same thing where it's the moment of birth could theoretically be that, everything prior to that moment is during the pregnancy. And should we have a sort of this weird kind of extra minutes, hours during the course of that day that are part of that 2 weeks, and then everything afterwards is part of the 12 weeks. And we said, the day delivery was really not intended to be the extra 2 weeks during pregnancy. So we went for that purpose. The day of delivery is part of the regular 12 weeks rather than the extra 2 weeks for claimants. And then as a little addendum, this is not really the same topic, but it's about pregnancy, so I put it here as well. We had previously indicated that bonding leave that immediately follows the pregnancy recovery leave for the birth parent, that we wouldn't require a new eligibility review. It's really a continuation of that same claim. What we wanted to make clear is that also means we won't change the benefit calculation either. It really is truly a continuation of the claim. So we don't look at a new base period if it happens to cross between 2 quarters. So that's another adjustment we wanted to make to the language. Finally, the last section is about wages and earnings. It's already in our statute that wages earned from a non-participating employer because they're outside of Connecticut or they don't participate in the program aren't part of your eligibility or benefit calculation. But we did want to kind of carve out an exception for employers that don't currently participate in Connecticut but may in the future. Municipalities, local and regional board of educations being the main ones this could apply to. So if they, through a collective bargaining agreement, decide to participate, we don't make them wait 12, 15, 18 months for their wages under the program to be considered. They sort of retroactively have those past wages once they begin to participate. Now we can look at those wages during a period they weren't participating with that employer. So we want to make sure there's an exception for that, so it is not sort of a backdoor extra year waiting period for those individuals. And then finally, I just wanted to highlight subject earnings and total wages are used in our statute. They both are defined by reference to the exact same statute in the UI code, unemployment code. The difference really is subject earnings is subject to the Social Security cap each year, that limit on contributions, and total wages is not. And then we use them for slightly different purposes. Subject earnings is used for eligibility and contributions, and total wages is used for benefit calculations. So we had previously had a definition in our policies about subject earnings. We added the language about the municipal or board employees who begin to participate. And then we wanted to make sure that the definition between subject earnings and total wages mirrored, and we had a definition for both. So we've kind of included that total wages definition as well. And then they don't mirror when it makes sense not to mirror, because it happens to be something that only applies to one, not the other. I went through that probably pretty fast. I hope I didn't bore anybody. Happy to take any questions about anything I went over, anything I didn't go over, any of the language, the specific language in the statute or in the policies.
Any additional questions for Michael? Thank you so much for the presentation. Very helpful.
Thank you.
If not, may I have a motion to authorize the authority staff to post the consolidated policies for public comment in the Connecticut Law Journal?
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. I'm sorry, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. We will now move to item 7 in the agenda. Erin, will you please provide us the update on the AFLAC service level agreement outcomes for 2022?
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So I think we've talked about this at the committee meetings, but I want to make sure we've captured everybody. So with our contract with AFLAC, we have certain metrics that they must meet. They get reported on monthly, but part of the agreement is that we look at the annual results, and up to 5% of the total fee that we pay to AFLAC sort of put at risk if they don't hit all of those 18 metrics. So for 2022, AFLAC missed 4. So when you look at the annual results, a couple of them related to timeliness of decisions or response, which as we know, we had some struggles with that at the beginning. And so even though it got a lot better over the year, those early misses affected their annual percentage. So they missed those. Also with accuracy of benefit calculations, our expectation is that they hit accurate benefit calculations 98% of the time. They ended with an average of 95%. And that includes overpayments, underpayments, and terminating the benefit at the appropriate time. So because they missed those 4, we will be getting a credit of $375,468, which will be coming, which means we won't be paying them basically the normal amount that we would normally pay in March. We have worked with AFLAC to identify solutions to the issues that they have met, and those are already in place in terms of new ways of making sure that they're more timely, ways of making sure that the calculations are accurate. So we're working and looking forward to candidly not getting the credit, because we'd rather have the performance, but that we just wanted to close the loop on that for the board for 2022.
Thank you, Erin. Any questions for Erin? And Erin, I know you have the next item as well. If you would please provide your CEO report as well.
Sure. So first, let me tell you why we've changed up the order, because usually the CEO report comes later. But one of the changes that we'd like to at least try out going forward is to vary the format for when we give staff reports. Instead of giving claims update, a outreach and engagement update, and other updates every month, we're going to move to a quarterly approach. So this month we'll have a claims update. Next month, the actuarial report will come out. And then in April, we'll do the outreach and engagement, and so on and so forth. I think that will help us avoid giving you the same information over and over again, help us be able to develop information about trends and really kind of alleviate some of the density of our meetings. So we welcome any feedback, but we thought this was a good experiment. So that's what you will be seeing in a moment. Just a few other things I wanted to report on. First, I'm thrilled to announce that Maddie Granato will be joining our agency at the beginning of next month as our government and community relations manager. I know, Molly is like, yay, I am so excited. Maddie has been a huge advocate for the paid leave program. In fact, she was the campaign director for the Connecticut campaign for paid family leave. She's been working for QUELF for the past few years and has a great deal of experience with the legislature, government relations, as well as a really great background for outreach. So she'll be coming on board to do our legislative work. And when she's not at the Capitol or working on legislative issues. She'll be working in partnership with Jess to help with some of Jess's initiatives. So just so thrilled. We're very happy to have Maddie come join us. So that's the first piece of news. The second piece of news is that, as we have seen, Andrea has joined us. Andrea will be part of the finance committee. Sal and I have talked, and he's got so many schedule and conflicts. He suggested that it made sense for him to step down from the Outreach and Engagement Committee, but Isha Canada will be stepping into the Outreach and Engagement Committee. So that will be a great addition as well. And thank you, Sal, for the time you've given us on that committee. We're so glad that you're still on the board, but we recognize you've got a lot of calls on your time. So we've got those two changes. Next, I just want to make a request. We've had a lot of new people join the board over the past couple of years, and we're working on the new website. So we would request that you share with us either your biography, if you haven't given us a bio and a picture, please share one with us, or if you'd like to update what you gave to us a couple of years ago. We'd like to make sure that that updated information is on the website. And we're also going to compile it and share it with all of you so that you have sort of some more information about your colleagues on the board. So if you could send us your updated bio statement and updated picture, if you like, to Amber, then we will compile that and make sure that goes onto the website when that goes live in the spring. And good morning, John. It's nice to see you.
Good morning. I apologize for being late.
No worries. Committee bio, Maddie. Okay, and then just a couple of statistics. We normally report out on our registration and some of those other details, and we haven't quite figured out where else to put them. So I just wanted to share a couple of statistics with you. We are at 145,003 active registrations, which encompasses an increase of over 1,600 registrations. So that's really great news. We're really working toward making sure that employers are registering with us and making their contributions. So having that number continue to increase is a good sign for us. As you know, we've been partnering with United Way since almost the beginning, and they are closing in on 50,000 cases. To date, they have closed 49,613, and they have another about 250 that are currently open. They have been amazing partners to us. They really have so much subject matter expertise that they have learned over the past couple of years. And what is really terrific is that they also bring their United Way knowledge. So there are sometimes folks who need assistance that is not paid leave. Either they're not covered or something else is going on. And we're able to really tap into that expertise that United Way 211 brings to offer assistance, including even just last week during the cold snap, helping folks who needed help. They kind of came our way and we were able to help them. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize how much assistance they provide, how great they are in terms of a resource for our citizens. And 50,000 cases, which run the gamut from employers needing help with registering or contributions to employees needing help understanding what the rights are, TPAs trying to figure things out. It's really runs the gamut. So that's a really great partnership. And just so you know, we are still in the public comment period for our private plan audit policy. I don't think we've received any comments, but we'll be coming back next month asking for the board to approve that. We have over 650 private plans, which we're estimating covers about 45,000 employees. So making sure that the plans are doing what they are supposed to do is a real, is important to us, and is something that we're really going to be focusing on this year with the audits. I just wanted to share that. So that's my update. Is there any questions? All right.
Erin, thank you so much. Great report. And just want to echo the welcome to Maddie Granato. Really welcome her aboard. And then also thanks to Sal and to Andrea moving forward on some of those minor switches to committees. But I think that will really help us moving forward. And again, Sal, really pleased that moving forward, you're staying with us, but obviously in a just slightly different capacity with respect to the committees. So really excited to have your continued support on the authority as well. Any other questions before we move on to agenda item 9? Great. So John, would you please provide the claims update for today?
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. I will share my screen.
We can see your screen, John.
Thank you. Okay, claims update. Okay, so we're moving to a slightly different format of providing some information here. We're going to move to both a trend-based display for the monthlies as well as a year-over-year comparison. So taking a look at this data, the 3-month trend total claims is 22,541, and the 3-month moving average is 7513. And then looking at the comparison between January 22 and January 23, you can see that in the year over year that January 22 is substantially higher than 23, and that reflects the spike in COVID claims filed. January 22 remains the highest monthly claims filing total to date for the authority, with that spike in the COVID claims that came in last year. Okay, and then claim status, percent of adjudicated. We're also doing something similar here this way. The 3-month decision trend from November through January, approved claims at 61% and denied claims at 39%. And that does not reflect the pending reconsideration requests of 1525 that are still outstanding as of 1/31/23. The cumulative statistics below are net of all reconsiderations that have been performed as of 1/31 through that cumulative time period, and also net of any of the 6,207 COVID claims that were adjudicated as well. And you can see the differential there in the approval and denial rates as a result of removing those items. Just a reminder that those COVID claims did have an extremely high denial rate, as many of them did not reach the threshold of serious health condition, and that denial rate for those COVID claims was 84%, which has kind of skewed the overall numbers to some extent. Okay, and then taking a look at the reconsideration data, this is cumulative through 1/31, and reconsiderations requests are reviewed by a separate unit within AFLAC, and the unit currently consists of 3 case managers, and they intend to add a 4th case manager shortly. This separate unit allows for review of each reconsideration by a case manager other than the case manager that made the original decision. Currently, reconsideration requests are currently being filed on 27% of denials. And taking a look at the claims by reason, just a breakdown of the claims as filed and also the corresponding percentage for January. And then the other information here at the bottom of the screen is that we do anticipate, with the change in pregnancy and bonding claims, that as of 3/1 of this year, we will subsume the bonding claims into the pregnancy claim. And as a result, that streamlining will the effect of that will be to reduce the number of overall claims recorded, as most moms will not have a separate bonding claim. Any of the claims that have a direct rollover from pregnancy into bonding without any gap will be only counted as a single claim as a pregnancy claim. The other effect of this will also be that the average duration of pregnancy claims will lengthen to reflect the bonding portion of the claim being subsumed into the pregnancy claim. And further, we don't expect the overall claim payments will change, only the distribution to pregnancy claims in lieu of the bonding portion for most moms. So the payments will remain relatively the same. However, the duration of those pregnancy claims will lengthen and we'll have fewer bonding claims as a result. And just taking a look at the ratios that we ran for 2022, the ratio of female bonding claims to pregnancy claims is about 96.5%. We're currently running some additional information on that to try to correlate specific instances of specific customers and to try to obtain some better data for the actuaries to utilize to make their projections moving forward for claims received. Okay, and then with regard to payments and approvals, you can see the year over year here, January 23 to January 22. And the numbers here reflect the fact that in January of 22, I think the first payments didn't go out the door until the second week sometime of January. And as we were getting ramped up with adjudicating claims and things of that nature, you can see substantial differences in that data year over year. You know, as we move forward into February and March and what have you, those numbers will change a bit and you'll see a little bit more correlation between the two. Cumulative total gross payments through 2/4 are now at 277,846,000. And with regard to the data on the in the right-hand side here, benefits paid for leaves of a week or longer, that only applies to 2023 payments, that particular data. Okay, and then this slide is claims paid versus actuarial projections that actually finance has put together. And the two columns shown here are projections in the light blue and claims in the dark blue. And as you can see in this slide, the actuarial payment projections for the first 6 months of the program show a higher initial claims paid projection. That was from the prior actuarial that was in use, WildFig, the original projections that were made. In the second half of the year, you can see that those are more in alignment. Those July through December projections were made by Spring Group and utilized the first 6 months of our actual data, as well as other outside data to reflect a revised claims paid projection. And that's why the differential there that you can see. In this, you saw some of this data in the year-end information that we went over and sent to you. And this is the document dashboard. The document dashboard has gone live as of 2/1. And as of 2/1, the document dashboard portal enhancement, as I said, went live. And this enhancement has been under development for several months, went live as scheduled. And customer feedback has been positive. And Aflac personnel report, it is much easier to use to identify current status of documents and communicate with customers. We've also added a downloadable portal user guide to the CTPL website to enhance customers' understanding of how to file and manage their claim. And we feel that these enhancements in both the visual and ease of use will enhance customers' understanding of what they need to do in terms of obtaining those documents, getting them filled out and sent back to us, and also enhance their overall experience. And we are hoping to see a reduction in the denials for lack of paperwork as a result. So we'll be monitoring those trends as we move forward with this document dashboard. We are certainly excited that AFLAC successfully implemented this document dashboard, as again, we feel that it is significant improvement for customer usability of the portal. Okay, and that concludes the claims presentation for this morning. Any questions?
Molly?
Hi, Molly.
Hey. So thanks so much for this. And I think the document dashboard is fantastic and really looking forward to seeing what the data look like on particularly some of the folks who are getting initially denied for lack of documentation, since it seems like that's a big chunk. I'm curious about if we have a ballpark sense of what chunk of, so that initial 39% denial rate or 30% if you cut out the COVID claims, it seems like a decent chunk of those folks are ultimately getting paid benefits after they go through the reconsideration process. So do we have any sense of what the sort of like ultimate or eventual approval percentage looks like? Because it seems like probably the 30% denial is bigger than it actually is in terms of folks who do or do not end up getting their benefits.
It's a little difficult to say at this moment, but we think that we are certainly trending towards that 70% range as a steady state once some of these issues with respect to documents and things of that nature get ironed out. The reconsideration requests, the percentages of those that are being approved. In fact, if you remove the pending amount here, that number on reconsideration requests that are adjudicated, 73% would actually become about 88% of reconsiderations that are adjudicated are being approved. And that is, again, largely based on the fact that the documents either have some deficiency in them or we didn't obtain them. So we do think that over time, with the ease of use and a better understanding by customers that the number of reconsiderations will hopefully be diminished and approvals will be done on the front end rather than having to go through that reconsideration process.
Got it. Thank you.
And Molly, just to add to that, I think, sort of the 3-month trend where it looks like we're denying about 39%, we think that'll probably get to 30, just based on this past year. But the hope and frankly expectation is that between the document, the dashboard, the just better socialization of the process, we've got a lot of new information that'll go on the website when that goes live, and just changes in the correspondence, which we haven't really talked about, but we're changing the correspondence to, we hope, make it easier for people to read and follow, more bullets, bigger font. All of those things together, we anticipate that we will see we're hoping to see a radical reduction in denials due to lack of documentation. So I think overall, we would expect our approvals to really exceed 70%, in the future. And that's what we're looking for. We can't, there will always be folks who say, oh, well, I can't give you a med cert. Like, all right, never mind. But, if there are people who really do need the benefits, who really are seriously ill, we want to make it as easy as possible and not have it go through this extra step. Even just, I can tell you, even in the appeals that we have, so we have a far number of some of those reconsiderations where the denials are upheld because they still don't give us the documents, and then give us the documents a week later after that denial has been upheld. Okay, fine, thank you. And so, eventual approvals are actually even higher than this slide shows.
Got it. So it sounds like the 39% number includes some people who really should be denied because they don't work in Connecticut or they haven't worked long enough, but some chunk of that is folks who have a valid claim, but for whatever reason, the paperwork isn't there. And the goal is to get as many of those folks initially approved as possible who do have a valid claim, and it's the paperwork tripping them up. Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Right. One other thing I would add as well is that sometime later in the second quarter, AFLAC intends to implement push messaging, text messaging to customers, which will alert them about claim status and things of that nature, any, things that are outstanding. We're not quite sure the specificity that they'll be able to deliver with those messages as of yet. However, we're hopeful that that in conjunction with the ease of use of the document dashboard will also facilitate better communication with customers and understanding of what they need, what's outstanding. Any other questions?
John, I have a question on the COVID claims as well. Are you seeing an overall decline in the number of claims regarding COVID just due to the pandemic leveling out and lack of severity, acknowledging that it's obviously still a pandemic and there are severe cases?
We are. The level of COVID claims has been relatively minor, frankly, at this point, and certainly not skewing the data in any way. It's really that large spike in January and February of last year that continues to kind of skew the appearance of the denial rate there. And again, that's the reason why we took the step of subtracting those out to show you what the other rates of approval and denial look like, as it really is a more normal rate of approval that we anticipate.
Great, thank you.
And I think the claims that we're getting now, they are serious. They are COVID-related serious health conditions, as opposed to, here's my positive test. Here's a picture. I mean, we were getting, here's a picture of the stick that says I've got that I'm positive. So it really is. I think the message about you have to be receiving treatment, you have to be under the care of a healthcare provider for it to be a serious health condition does seem to have resonated.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions? John, thank you, great report. Really appreciate the work of you and your team, and again, to the entire staff as we move forward. The claims numbers are impressive, and appreciate the continued work on the reverse on denials and the reconsiderations.
Thank you. I'll stop sharing.
So moving on to agenda item number 10, we'll move to our committee reports, policy and personnel being number 1. Mike, would you please provide the report?
So Mike is actually traveling, so he's unable to join us right now, but I can tell you that the committee met on Tuesday because Tuesday was the first Thursday of the first Tuesday of the month. And basically they talked about the things we've already talked about, the policies and the SLAs.
Thanks, Erin. Next is outreach and engagement with Molly, who I know is here.
Stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, sounds like it's solved. Yeah, the committee met this month. We've got a great update on all of the fantastic work that's been happening in terms of both the Outreach Jessica stuff and the podcast, which continues to be fantastic. It was not a topic of discussion at our meeting, but I think the most exciting update in this area is that Maddie is joining the team, and we're excited to have more folks on board. But I think that's the key highlights from us.
Excellent. Thanks, Maddie. Thanks, Molly. Really, again, appreciate Maddie coming on board. Next, we have finance and audit. Holly Williams.
Yes, the committee met last month and received an update on fund recovery and the financial reports. And Dave is going to walk us through those financial reports today.
Okay, thank you, Holly, and good morning again, everybody. I'm going to share my screen.
We can see your screen.
Thank you for the confirmation, as always. Okay. 1 second. Okay, there we go. All righty then. So we're going to go over the results for the month of December, a preview of January, and projections of where we are, where we will believe we will be by the end of the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. For the month of February, we had expenditures of over $1.1 million. That was almost $535,000 ahead of what we budgeted for operational expenses. The operational expenses were the typical ones: salary and related expenses, contact center, outreach, and IT consulting. One item of note is that for the month of January, we had 3 pay periods for salary and related expenses. That happens typically twice a year. So that number was higher than other months, but that was absolutely expected. For fiscal year to date, so we're at the halfway point, our actual results are $4.5 million, which is almost $3.9 million ahead of budget. Moving on to bonds, our bond money for the month of December, we spent almost $209,000 ahead of budget by over $516,000. For fiscal year to date, we spent $763,000. We're over $3.3 million ahead of budget. But we do, as I usually say, we do intend to continue spending the money for the projects we are working on. And the projects that we are currently working on include fund recovery, claims integration, and the website redesign. So to date, the authority has used 11.9, almost $12 million of the $16 million that's been allocated by the state, and we have $4 million available to us. Moving on to our contribution fund activity for the month of December, we had activity of over $25 million going out the door. That was primarily driven by the benefits paid, which was $25.7 million. That's a little higher than it's been in a typical month because we reimbursed for 5 weeks of payments to AFLAC instead of 4 weeks. That happens a few times during the year. Contributions coming in were just under $700,000. That was $186,000 less than what we budgeted, but that was more than made up by the investment income we made of over $1.5 million. The rate on our short-term investment fund account continues to go up. We're north of 3%, almost at 4% for the month of December. For the fiscal year to date, our activity is $50.3 million. That's compared to what we budgeted, which was a negative amount of $29 million. So we are $79 million ahead of budget. And again, that's driven by the less than budgeted amounts of the benefits that have been paid from the authority thus far. Contribution fund as of the end of December is at over $433 million. And the 2 biggest drivers of that have been the contributions, which have been $728 million to date since we started, and $245 million of benefit claims that have been paid. And that started in January of 2022. Just a quick look at a balance sheet. Our total assets are over $455 million, and our largest asset continues to be the short-term investment account. That's at $420 million. Quick preview of January, nothing unusual there. Expenditures were $1.2 million. One item of note there was we did pay our annual platform expenses for Salesforce and for ForgeRock. That's for the platform that's used to for our website and for employers to make contributions and things of that nature. So that annual payment was made in January. Benefits paid for the month of January was $21.4 million, a little less than usual. And that was because at the beginning of the year was a holdover from the holidays. So people started making claims again, but those weren't processed until around the 2nd or 3rd week of January. So the activity picked up then. Contributions that came in January were $93.7 million. And that's because the 4th quarter payments are ultimately due by the end of January. They're due in December, and there's a grace period of a month. And so that's January 31st. So that's when predominantly most of the contributions come in. Contributions through the end of January were $821.7 million. As far as where we will be by the end of the fiscal year, we expect our operating activity to be at $5.4 million. That's compared to the budget of 2.9, which results in a positive variance of $2.5 million. That's a little better than what we presented to you last month. The main driver of that was payroll and related expenses. Positions are starting later than we anticipated, and that's the reason for the uptick. Contribution activity didn't really change all that much. Our net activity we expect to be at $58.9 million. That's over $113 million better than budget. Two changes we did make on our estimates was we increased investment income because the interest rate has been going up. So we wanted to reflect that in our estimates. And we also decreased the amount of, wrong line. We decreased the line for the benefit administrative fees that we pay AFLAC. They've been averaging at about $1.9 million a month. And we don't think that's going to change anytime in the foreseeable future. So we adjusted the number to reflect that. That's where we are for the month of December and a preview of January. Does anybody have any questions? Ava.
I'm not sure if it was reflected, but where is the reimbursement from AFLAC for not meeting goals?
That, I'm going to share the screen again. I'm going to show you where it's included. It is included in this number here. That number has been reduced by the credit AFLAC is giving us. It's a reduction of the benefit administrative fees. So thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dave. And to Holly, thank you for the finance and audit report. Extremely comprehensive as always. So thank you so much for that. Moving on to number 11 on our agenda. Do we have any old business for today? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 12. Do we have any new business? Seeing none as well, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Luciano, so moved.
May I have a second?
Scott, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries and our meeting is adjourned at 9:56 this Thursday. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.